Alright, so one thing that I've noticed whenever cards get released is that people overlook most of the busted stuff. They don't notice it. Like when you look at the Therian engines, most people just overlook all the Therian shit. They only look at regulars and they look at the Therian Disc Coliseum. But they don't look at the other busted stuff in that archetype that were released. Also, that has happened again. When people look at this particular pack right here, most people don't even really craft. The most hype that I've seen people talk about in this particular pack so far has been this card right here for their sprites. Some people were playing this and talking about it. Like there's been a lot of talks about this, but nobody's actually putting this in their decks. I am though. I'm one of the people who I'll show you. I've been putting it in my decks. So ABC Therian, it's right there. And it's got multiple ways of being able to get to it, to get to that card with the Destrudo and all of that. So Destrudo is the way to do it. Super busted card. Make sure y'all craft this card even if you don't know how it works, because I can guarantee you eventually it will come up a time where that card is very powerful. But if you don't know, do a little bit of research on it. At the end of this video, I will show the combo lines for this particular card and why you should craft this card. Also, this card, make sure you craft this. Just look up dragon rulers, or just look up my last video. I made a whole video talking about this card. It's over an hour long, showcasing the combo, the end board, how powerful this one card is. Look that up and then you'll see. But let's talk about some of the stuff that was newly added to the game that nobody's been talking about. Nobody's been talking about Change Your Heart. Craft this card, one of the most busted cards. One of the most devastating effects to Triple Tactics talent is that if your opponent activates a card effect, you can basically steal their monster. Well, this right here basically does that without them having to activate anything. So this is a forced interaction from your opponents by just simply activating Change Your Heart. One of the best going second cards that this game has. Activate this, forces them to activate their negates. If they only have one Omni negate up, you can activate this and then you can basically force them to negate it. If they don't negate it, you can take their Omni negate, use it against them. If they do activate it, then now you can pop off. You force them to use up whatever they got. And sometimes they don't have a way to stop this card. Sometimes they may activate, if you're playing against a sprite deck, sometimes they may put red out and not have carrot. You literally can just steal their red. You could steal their whatever. You can literally just take it. So this card is super powerful. Um, really good card to be able to shut your opponents down. Make sure you craft this card. Dragon Rulers, super busted. Also craft 3 burners as well. That's the card that gets you this card very easily. Go watch my most recent video. I talk about it. This card right here, super, super, super busted. For one, what you do is in your end phase, you set this card right here, and then you can basically special summon a Slifer from your graveyard. All you have to do is literally just mill Slifer in some kind of way, get it into the graveyard, however you can get it into the graveyard. Use this card's effect to revive it, and then how does that benefit you when you revive it? Well, this card's a floodgate when it gets summoned onto the field. Gains 1,000 attack for an attack and a defense for each card in your hand. If a monster is normal or special summoned to your opponent's field in attack position, if they put it into attack position, that monster loses 2,000 attack. Then, if the attack has been reduced to 0 as a result, destroy it. Most of the time, people don't read Slifer. They just normal summon a monster. And when you normal summon a monster, you have to put it into attack unless you're setting it. So most of the time, they will normal a monster and then it'll lose 2,000 attack and pop itself and then they can't make plays after that, or they'll special summon out a bunch of weak monsters. They'll summon out and pop. What deck cannot play through this? Sprites. Sprites cannot play through this. And then you're drawing 6 cards on top of that. Super powerful, super busted. Make sure you craft this card. Get 3 of them. Now, myself, I haven't got this card. I've been crafting the shit out of this deck. Look, I got plenty of cards out of this pack. Look, all of this shit is at 3. And I have not crafted a single one. I've been crafting the shit out of this deck. I got this card to 3 and I've broke it down as much as I could because I've just gotten too many copies of this and I don't plan on using it. But I do know for a fact that I do want 3 copies of this, so eventually I may just craft them. I know a lot of people have been playing this card particularly for sprites. I don't really care for it. This is one of the most busted cards. ABC Therian plus this right here, and I'll talk about it. This card's spicy. I'll talk about the combo lines and everything with this, because I think that a lot of people aren't really playing this because they don't know the lines, and I'll explain the lines in just a second. So let's just go ahead and go to the lines. So I guess me showing ABC Therian doesn't really help. I'll go to Dark Magician instead, because Dark Magician can do it too, just not as good. So this card right here, Dragunity Reminisce, right? This card, you can send this card. Basically, the effect is you discard this card to add Dragon's Ravine, which is this card. You add this or activate this card, and then you can send 1 dragon from your deck to the graveyard. You would always send Destrudo. Trust me, Destrudo. And then this card will go back into your deck to the bottom of the deck when it leaves the field. So basically it recycles itself. Now, you could put more of these in there because once you discard this, it's gone. Can't get it back. And then these will become bricks after that, right? So, what you would do, send Destrudo. Once you send Destrudo, so you could really run this at 2 if you wanted to. Run these at 2. I just don't have the ultra rares to put this to 2. Or you could even run this at 3. Because ultimately, all you're really doing with these are just discarding to get access to this. I made 3 of these for the simple fact that I didn't want to make 3 of these. Does that make sense? But these are better than these. So basically what you would do is discard this to get access to this. Activate this to send this. Once you send, you would send Destrudo. Destrudo pay half your life points to summon this card onto the field, but that's after you normal summon Magician's Rods, got its effect off and everything. And then you will basically reduce this card's level by 3. And then once you do, basically you would go Destrudo plus this into level 7 Synchro. Hopefully y'all are keeping up with me right here. When you activate Rod's effect, don't grab, you don't have to grab, where is it? You don't have to grab this, because you can basically just grab Circle. And then you can use the effect of Ancient Fairy Dragon to pop Ravine and then search this card. So then that way you can get this onto the field, plus you can get Eternal Souls onto the field through that, and then you could use your rods to grab this. So then that way, now you got your combo pieces, right? So that means that off of 1 Magician's Rod plus Destrudo, you get both your combo pieces. You get Dark Magical Circle, plus you get Eternal Souls onto the field, both of them. Hopefully that makes sense. Then you can use this to get your Dark Magician into the graveyard. Or hopefully that all makes sense. And then you can draw 1 if you wanted to as well, because you could then pitch this card if you wanted to, your field spell, to draw one. And you can still get an additional normal summon of a level 4 or lower with this card, which I don't know what you would normal summon in this particular deck. Don't really know, but maybe, I don't know. I don't know what you would even want to normal summon. But ABC theory, and it works a little bit better because it all kind of works. So the lines here is emergency teleport into Wygon. Wygon is a level 3 tuner, and then it'll also allow you to search the field spell, punk jam extreme session, and then you would just normal summon out one of these level 4s right here. Once you normal summon it out, then you go into Ancient Fairy Dragon and you pop the field spell to add Union Driver, or Union Hanger, I mean. Then you would go to Ancient Fairy Dragon, of course, pop, grab Union Hanger, activate Union Hanger, use the first effect of this to normal summon the card that you add from this card, because when you activate this, you add basically a light machine union monster from your deck to your hand. That's exactly what these cards are. So now you add it, special summon it with this. Now let's say if you do the other line. The other line is Dragoonity. Send this card to the grave to add this. Add this, then you send this to the grave. Then activate this or normal this out, or this or this. Normal it, and then activate Destrudo in the grave. Go into level 7 Synchro. Then you go into this. Then you pop your field spell and add this. That makes sense? Hopefully that makes sense. And if you already have this in hand and you were waiting to get to that point, well then you can add this Coliseum and continue to pop off after, because now you got another extender with this Coliseum. So yeah, so extremely busted, right? That's the Ancient Fairy Dragon line. Let's go to the Sprite pack. Everybody's been talking about all the stuff in here, all the crazy stuff, right? Let me tell you, there's a lot of cards in here that if you haven't crafted, I can tell you, make sure you craft 3 Xiamens. You don't necessarily have to craft 3. Two is good as well. 2 Xiamens, 1 Deer Note, and then 2 Foxy Tunes. You could even do 3. I would even argue 3 Foxy Tunes, 3 Xiamens, whatever the case may be. You can do that. The Xiamens, the Foxy Tunes can actually get your Xiamens onto the field. Foxy Tune can facilitate the combos that I was just talking about, as far as with the ABC Buster, ABC Therian deck. It can basically facilitate those combos. Make sure you craft Psychic and Punisher. Now, you all know about the Sprite stuff. You all know to craft the Sprite stuff. You all know about the Exo Sisters. I'm pretty sure you all know how powerful Exo Sisters is. But there is one card in here that I don't think anybody has been thinking about. Now, of course, Sprites are good, right? Sprites are really good. All of this stuff is really, really good. But the one card that I haven't saw anybody talking about in all of this is this card right here. Power Tool Braver Dragon. Look this card up. Just watch videos on YouTube. I may actually make a video on this of how powerful this is. I'm 100% going to craft this. This card can basically create a situation where you can hand loop your opponents for 3. If you type this card's name in and then type in hand loop combo, just watch it. It'll blow your mind. Basically, all you have to do is get this card onto the field and look at the effect. If this card is special summon, you can equip 3 equip spells with different names from your deck or graveyard to this card. During the main phase, you could send one of your equipped spells equipped to this card to the graveyard, then target one effect monster on the field. Either change its battle position or until the end of the turn negate its effects. Meaning that basically there's a hand loop that can happen with this particular card. There's a card that when it's destroyed, basically your opponents lose a card out of their hand. And there's another card that can pop it. And it happens automatically as soon as they both get equipped to this particular card. And you can do it 3 times. Meaning you can hand loop your opponent for 3 cards and then put up a bunch of negates. So then that way, while they're trying to pop off, they have to pop off with basically 3 cards that they'll have in their hand on their turn. And you'll have more negates than they got cards in their hand. They pretty much take the L. They lose. GG's, my boy. See you next time. Back to Fortnite. So, let's go to the next deck. Strong Will. So, here is another pack. Now, in this particular pack, a lot of people said it was better to just craft the cards in this particular pack because everything in here is trash. The only good stuff in here is Kelbeck, Keldo, Medora, and Elgato, right? I would also argue that Gravekeeper's Trap is pretty good and Exchange of the Spirit, but that one's not even in this pack. I do have this card crafted even though I don't use it, but I do have it crafted. And then I also have a few other cards in here crafted. But out of all the newly added cards, let's take a look. Now there is one card at the very top of this that I didn't mention just yet, and it's this card right here. This card's super busted. Now, out of all the cards in this whole pack, I would argue that this is probably one that you would definitely want at 3. Because of how powerful this card's effect is. This is basically a hand trap. So let's read it. Now, cannot be normal summoned or set, must be special summoned from your hand by attributing all face-up monsters on the field that activated their effects this turn in your opponent's main monster zone. Meaning that this is a second hand trap. So when your opponents pop off, if you're going second, you lose the coin toss and you have to go second. You can use this card right here and tribute everything on your opponent's field that they're popping off with, they're activating. And most players are going to set up some crazy inboard that you can't play through, and they're going to activate everything. You force them to activate as much as they possibly can. You get them to activate every card on their side of the field, and then you tribute off all their monsters pretty much. And then during the end phase, you can target one monster your opponent's graveyard and special summon it to your field. So you can even get another monster on top of tributing all their shit off, which you won't even be able to use this effect because usually when you tribute all their shit on their field, usually they quit right after. So GG's, my boy. You hold that L back to Fortnite. Let's go to the very last pack that has just been released, and this is one of the most busted of busteds, and you probably won't even see it, but there's a card in here that nobody's talking about. There's, well, 2 cards really that nobody's talking about, or really even maybe 3 or 4. We'll see. So let's start off down here, right? So the first card that's really, really good that nobody's talking about. Well, I wouldn't say it's really good. This card right here. Ika the Body Flame. Or Flame Body. Flame Buddy, I mean. Basically, you can turbo out a bunch of cards and then buster lock your opponents. Because if you put this into, let's say you put the Dragon Buster into your deck and then you put this into your deck, right? Let's say you're playing zombies and you're able to actually get these out at the same time. You can then equip that Buster card. You can equip that Buster card to this card, basically buster locking your opponent, locking them out of the extra deck. Super easy to pull off. Um, that's just me thinking quickly of how to do it. There's probably much better ways of doing it, but that's a very universal way of doing it. Um, it's just to summon both of them onto the field somehow and then equip it to this card using its own effect. So then to the more busted stuff in the deck. Now, one of the more busted, this card right here can also be done like that. In I'll use my zombie deck as a reference. The Red Eyes Dragon Zombie Lord can revive a monster on your opponent's turn at a quick effect speed. Also, one of the generator bosses of Doom, Hela, she can revive zombies back. Now you can make everything in your graveyard zombies. This card, if it's in your graveyard, you can revive this card and look, you get pop two cards on the field. Meaning that you could summon this card out during your opponent's turn while they're trying to pop off and pop 2 cards onto the field using those cards. That's the easy way of me just thinking of it without even doing the combo. But that's a very easy way to just pop 2 cards on the field while they're trying to make their plays. And you can do that pretty much over and over and over. And each time your turn comes up, you just destroy the card or tribute it off or whatever. It's a big body. As far as defense goes, you just put it in defense. It'll gain attack for the 2 cards for each card that it pops, which I don't care about that gaining attack because I won't use those effects more than likely. I'll just put it in defense. Pop cards on their turn while they're trying to pop off. Super brutal for my opponents. Super good card, but that is one way that you could actually use this card's effect. That's how I would use it, and more than likely that's what I'm going to do, is use it as a pop 2. Now, there's 2 more or 3 more cards in here that are really good that I want to talk about. The first one is this card right here. I 100% want to add 3 of these. It's the same with Slifer's. I want to add 3 of those cards. I also want to add 3 of these. This card is too good to not play. It's just super hard to get access to this card because basically this gets you to being able to get to this and this in a way that you weren't able to do before. This is a very powerful buff. If you read the effects of it, when this card is activated, add 1 winged dragon of Raw or 1 card that mentions it from the deck. Then it cannot attack the turn that they're summoned. Special summon once per turn during your main phase. You can send this card from the field, or 1 winged dragon of Raw Immortal Phoenix from the deck to the graveyard. Then send 1 winged dragon of Raw from your monster zone to the graveyard. So what this is basically saying is you can send this card to the graveyard. That was the problem, and that was the hardest thing with this particular card, was getting it into the graveyard. Well, that's the easy way of getting this into the graveyard, and then the effects of this after that is insane. Being able to get into that spear mode also, insane. Being able to make plays, I love the way that this plays, so I will be crafting 3 of these. Super powerful. Now on to one of the most busted cards here. This card and this card. Nobody's even talking about this stuff. Everybody that I saw even look at this card just pass right over and don't even think about it. Nobody even reads the effect of this card because they don't want to play Mayakashis, but this works in zombie decks. So let me show you. So what this card basically can do is, at quick effect speed, you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon 1 zombie synchro monster that is banished or in your graveyard. This is more graveyard interaction. Now, what zombies would be zombie synchro monsters? Well, all of them will be zombie synchro monsters because you will be under zombie world. So that means that you can quick effect revive any synchro monster that you have. That is powerful, trust me. So then that means that you can basically just send a synchro monster from your extra deck to the graveyard and then use this to quick effect revive it without actually even summoning it in the first place. Hopefully y'all are paying attention. So then, let's look at this card. Tribute 1 Mayakashi, or Shiranori Synchro, or Link Monster. Or Link Monster. What is this card? Mayakashi. What is this card? Tribute 1 Mayakashi. Neither player can special summon monsters from the hand, deck, or extra deck for the rest of this turn. I don't think y'all realize how powerful this is. This is more powerful than a Scythe Lock for your opponents. This is basically an end the turn. The only deck that can play through this is Floowandereeze, really. Floowandereeze doesn't use special summons. That means that you tribute off your Mayakashi monster. They can't just stop it with an imperm like how they would stop it if it was a Scythe Lock. They can't just stop it like that. They can't also just stop this with a Call by the Grave. Like, you tribute the Mayakashi and their turn is done. You do this in their draw phase, their turn is done pretty much. They get one normal summon basically, unless they're playing Floowandereeze. Then here's the even funnier part to this. You can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one of your banished zombie monsters and return it to the graveyard. So that means that you can run this card at 3. So what would possibly be banished? What zombie monster would possibly be banished that you would return to your graveyard? Quick effect. You can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon one zombie synchro monster that is banished or in your graveyard, which means you can unbanish a synchro monster, summon it onto the field at quick effect speed, tribute, use this card to put this card back into your graveyard, and potentially resummon it back out. Now, let's go look at just my zombie deck, right? And I know I'll put this in there for sure. I'm 100% sure that once I get the cards, those 2 cards, that trap, I'll for sure put it in here. But once I get it, I'll be able to set it once I just start milling. I just mill. I run this at 3. Once I get that, I'll put that trap, set it, activate it, and look at all these synchros. You'll be able to run any synchro, and it'll become zombie. It doesn't even have to be a zombie synchro. Look how many synchros you have options. As long as you get a synchro into the graveyard, which there are ways to get monsters into the graveyard. You can literally just get them in there. There's so many different cards that you could send a monster from the extra deck to the graveyard, or even banish it. But the zombie synchros you don't necessarily have to do. You could literally, if you watch my videos on me turning Baron de Flor into a zombie, putting it into the graveyard and then reviving it with Red Eyes Dragon Zombie Lord or even Hela, and basically resetting the negate effect of this card by doing that, it's insane. Being able to reset your Baron de Flor, insane. So that means that you can pretty much go into whatever you want, be able to unbanish, put it back onto the field. That could be Psyframe Lord Omega. You can unbanish it, put it into your graveyard. Once it goes into your, like, it's crazy. If your field's flooded and this card goes into the graveyard, and now all you can do is put it back into your extra deck. Now you don't even have to do that. You can use that effect to resummon this out at quick effect speed, and then use it again, and then it'll rebanish itself and just make plays. It's insane. So all of that will work together perfectly. So perfect, perfect, perfect. The Mayakashi combos will be insane in this particular deck. More than likely, I'll probably take Baguska out of this deck, put that Link 3 right in here, because I don't have a Link 3 in here anyways. Put that Link 3 right there. Put that trap in here, and your opponents will not be able to summon. This deck already puts up insane boards by just simply scythe locking your opponents. They don't even know that you're going to scythe lock them when you scythe lock them in this particular deck. They're not even really ready for it, because you literally just mill this card to the graveyard, and then you just revive it on your turn with either Hela or with the Red Eyes Dragon Zombie Lord, or or there are other ways of being able to get monsters onto the field with this particular deck. Not at quick effect speed, of course, but there are ways of getting multiple monsters onto the field quickly. You can get this card out to start milling like crazy with Sprite Elf. So this card revives on your opponent's turn. This card revives on your opponent's turn. This card revives on your own turn during the battle phase. This card revives on either player's turn. This card revives during the standby phase, which I don't even use that effect anyways, but it can. The potential is there. So you can scythe lock your opponents using Baron de Fleur as a way to revive from the graveyard your artifact scythe. So insane how much this deck can play, how much stuff you can do, how much stuff that I guarantee you people are not ready for. And this Mayakashi monster has just made zombies insane, and I don't think anybody even knows it at this point. I don't think anybody even realizes that, because of how powerful it is. So I can guarantee you it's coming. Eventually you're gonna have somebody hit you with one of these Mayakashi combos. And this isn't even the only Mayakashi. Look, there's another one here. This one requires 2 Mayakashi monsters to make that one, but this one just requires 2 zombies. I already had this one in my deck, and this one is really good. Look, you can only control 1 absolute 0 Mayakashi, negate any activated effects of opponents' banished monsters, meaning that it just naturally negates all of their banished monster effects, meaning that if they're playing Fluandereeze, which is what we were just talking about, right? We were just talking about the Fluandereeze. Now, if they can normal summon through that, can they play without activating banished monster effects? I think not. Just GG's. And you can see what they're playing, because you're going to be milling your deck plus their deck. So, of course, you can just go into this one and study the other one. If a monster is special summoned from the graveyard, or a monster effect is activated in the graveyard, except during its damage step, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field, change its attack to 0, and if you do, negate its effects twice per turn. So 2 negates. So this is the card that I already had in my deck. This is the card that I for sure will be adding to the deck, and I will be running this card more than likely in my deck, because it's too good to not run. Tribute 1 Mayakashi, Shiranui, Synchro, or a Link monster, and I 100% know that I'll be using that Link monster because it's the easiest to get to. All you have to do is just link climb, literally link climb. You can go IP Masquerade, go into the this card right here. Basically, I know that this isn't a zombie, but it's a zombie deck basically that turbos out zombies. So for sure I will be doing that. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Hopefully I showed y'all enough broken stuff that shows you how powerful everything will be. And hopefully you guys can go out there and have some fun with these new cards. Hopefully I showed y'all something y'all didn't even know or weren't really reading, because I know nobody reads all of the cards when they get released, but yeah, I do. So GG's, my boys.